Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the SmackDown report for the 13th of November, Friday, the 13th of November, as it were, 2020. And again, this show is definitely not in line with what I think should be on national television by any stretch of the imagination. We'll run through it pretty quickly here. You know, it's pretty basic. They build to Survivor Series. They continue, uh, and so Universal Champ and head of the family Roman Reigns makes his way to the ring. Paul Heyman's there to start. Michael Cole and Graves discuss Reigns taking on Randy Orton or Drew McIntyre at Survivor Series. Why would anybody care about this? It's just another promotional match. They promote Orton and McIntyre for Raw on Monday, so now we're crossing the programs over, and we're not even, 10 minutes into the program? Anyway, Reigns takes the mic, asks Heyman what he calls this place, and Heyman says he calls it an island of relevancy. Anyone in the ring with Reigns becomes relevant. Reigns said that everything is right. He talks about Jey Uso. He said before the fans didn't even know who he was. Now Jey is a main eventer, and he takes out guys like Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens. Reigns promised that Uso is going to lead his team to victory. Reigns talks about Survivor Series opponent Randy Orton. He says he may acknowledge him, but that doesn't mean he respects him. Drew McIntyre music hits, and McIntyre is walking by and heard Reigns talking about Orton. McIntyre promised to win the title and then take on Reigns. I'd actually rather see Reigns and McIntyre, which I know we've seen before, but it's been a while, than Reigns and Orton. But that's just me. The last time they were in the ring together is Royal Rumble. McIntyre eliminates him to win the Rumble match. He talks about defeating Brock Lesnar in 5 minutes at Mania. McIntyre points out that Reigns left the company after Mania. McIntyre's been there the whole time. Reigns said he respects McIntyre, but he's back now, and this is his yard. And Reigns says he doesn't watch Raw. Heyman gets in the line that you're not missing much. At least Heyman's still honest after all these years. And that's weird with Paul Heyman's reputation. But anyway, Reigns said nobody watches Raw because he's on SmackDown. No, nobody watches Raw because it's just as bad as SmackDown, but who's splitting hairs? Nobody cares about McIntyre anymore because Reigns is back. McIntyre promised to defeat Orton, win the championship. Jey Uso runs down, gets in McIntyre's face. Uso noted he beat Bryan and Owens, and he thinks he can beat McIntyre. He said that this isn't Raw. Uso then challenges McIntyre to a match tonight. McIntyre went to respond, but Uso drops the mic. Reigns and Uso leave the ring. Not a bad segment, but I'm not in favor of having interpromotional stuff at any time during the year except maybe once. And we've just done the draft, so it's too close together. Intercontinental Champion Sami Zayn versus Apollo Crews. Zayn and Crews wasn't much of a match. It was kept short and to the point. Zayn is in the ring when we come back. Crews is back. Zayn note he found out about the match at 7 p.m. today, basically burying the writers on television. He says that's okay, though, because he can prove to Bobby Lashley why the Intercontinental Champion is better than the U.S. Champion. That's actually because it has a history with the promotion. That should be why, anyway. U.S. title has a shorter history, therefore should mean less. Crews has an early advantage. He hits a splash in the corner. Press slams his opponent into a turnbuckle, hits a suplex, and he follows up with a standing moonsault for a near fall. Zayn ends up at ringside, pulls down the ring skirt, uses that disadvantage. Zayn pushes his opponent into the side of the ring. Zayn ties up Cruz's leg, works on the leg for a while, wins by countout. Adam Pearce speaks with Drew McIntyre. Pearce wants to know if McIntyre wants the match with Uso tonight. McIntyre says sure, why not. basically. And also tells him to tell Reigns to sit at ringside. This seems like a bad idea. Kyla Braxton interviews Ray, Angie, Dominic, and Aaliyah Mysterio. Ray noted this isn't about Rollins trying to take out his eye, paternity tests, or text messages. He says this is about family, and he promises to end the feud, finally, tonight. Sasha Banks is out. They recap her defeating Bayley last week, Carmella attacking her. SmackDown's women's champ Sasha Banks makes her way to the ring. She talks about the haters and everyone that's not with her. She said very few thought she could win the title, but never hold on to it. She's proven everybody wrong to this point by defeating Bayley last week. Not much of a proof, but there you go. Banks then puts the women's locker room on notice. Bayley's music hits, makes her way to the ring. Banks yells at Bayley. Carmella jumps Banks from behind, beats her down. Carmella pauses over Banks. In the back, Otis is at a table eating by himself. No big surprise there. Otis gets mocked for being a lonely dope, and also for losing the Money in the Bank contract. Ziggler claims that Mandy Rose still texts him. Otis flips out, flips over the table, and Ziggler and Rude run away. Otis defeats Dolph Ziggler. Yes, I just said that sentence. Otis dominates the majority of the match. Match is short and somewhat useless. Ziggler talks a bunch of trash. Otis gets Ziggler in the corner and threw him across the ring. Otis sets up the splash. Rude interferes. And Ziggler hits the zigzag for the near fall. Otis recovers, hits a caterpillar, sets up Vader Bomb again. Rude becomes involved. Otis scares Rude off, hits the Vader Bomb for the win and the pin. Poor Dolph Ziggler. I don't want anyone to lose money, but if there's one guy that AEW could use as a send-off to his career, this is it. They show Seth Rollins speaking to Murphy in the back. Michael Cole noticed that Rollins and Murphy are apparently back together. Otis is furious. Chad Gable approaches him, tells Otis he needs to be that way all the time. Gable wants to mentor Otis. This is weird. And gives him a pamphlet for Alpha Academy. Also weird. Otis agrees, and he's excited to join. And he and Gable walks off. I assume they're doing something like a Timothy Thatcher thing with Gable, and maybe they'll unite them somewhere on the same brand at some point. Anyway, no holds barred match. Ray with Angie, Aaliyah, and Dominic. Mysterio defeats Seth Rollins with Murphy. Match is good. They work hard, tell a good story. They do a recap before the match starts. Mysterio attacks Rollins, goes after the knees. Rollins fights back, but then Mysterio returns to working over the knees. Rollins avoids a 619, and then he had previously tried to use a chair, and that didn't work out for him. Rollins avoids the 619. Rollins attempts a power slam off the apron. Mysterio turns that into a DDT in a really cool move. They fight around ringside. Nothing really happens. Electric chair toward the announce table. Ray counters into a sunset flip. And that sends Rollins into the barricade. Mysterio attempts to dive under the bottom rope. Rollins catches him with a suplex. Onto the announce table. Rollins targets Mysterio's back. Hits a backbreaker. At least he's working a body part, which is not a bad thing. Rollins uses a chair, but Mysterio avoids it, hits a springboard senton, he hits a bulldog for near fall. Rollins fight back and threw Mysterio under the bottom rope to the floor. Always a rug burn style spot. Rollins sticks Mysterio to the ringside steps. He places the steps, places Mysterio on the steps, tries a curve stomp, and Rollins injures his knee in the process. Mysterio drops Rollins on the steps, hits a dive under the bottom rope into a splash on the ringside steps. Ouch. Rollins goes for the Three Amigos suplexes, and Mysterio avoids the third suplex. Slides under the table. Rollins pushes the table over on Mysterio. Mysterio and Rollins fight to the top turnbuckle for what is the third or fourth time in the match. Mysterio attempts a Rana, but Rollins reverses it into a powerbomb, and they slip off the turnbuckle with this. Rollins recovers just as much as he can, hits the powerbomb off the bottom rope through a table for a near fall. Awkward spot, but Rollins recovered. Credit to him. Rollins tries to jam the chair leg into Mysterio's eye. Dominic pulls Rollins out of the ring. Rollins knocks down Dominic and gets in Aaliyah's face. Murphy came around to cut that off. Murphy jumps in the ring, handed a chair to Rollins. He then went to pick up Mysterio, but instead took out Rollins with a running knee. Angie and Aaliyah celebrate at ringside. So they're officially together, at least we believe. Rollins chased Murphy, but Mysterio hits 619. He doesn't hit it all the way. He sets up the move again, hits it more decisively this time. Mysterio pays tribute to Eddie on the 15-year anniversary of his death. Hits a frog splash for the win. Awesome. Mysterio looked at Murphy before he hit the frog splash, as if to warn him. Post-match, Mysterio demands Murphy get in the ring. Mysterio then shook Murphy's hand. Whole family embraces him. Murphy finally has the Mysterio family approval. This is good. Natalya approaches Adam Pearce. She's put in another triple threat qualifying match. They seem to do this. They just throw matches together to fill time. She didn't like this and wants to be placed on the team. Pearce informed her that the match is next. Natalya storms off. Chelsea Green appears and smiles at Pearce. Maybe Green and Pearce have something going on backstage. We don't know why she smiled. We also really don't know that much about her as a talent. Anyway, backstage, Seth Rollins is angry and demanding to talk to Adam Pearce. Pearce is certainly a popular guy this evening and asks if this is about Rey Mysterio. He says, and Rollins says he never wants to see Mysterio's face again. Survivor Series qualifying match for the women's team. Liv Morgan defeated Chelsea Green, Natalya Neidhart, and Tamina. Not a fan of this, just because Chelsea Green is relatively new, and they should be doing something with a new person rather than, honestly, three women that have kind of been thrown away. Meh. It will be nice and say two, with that being Natalya and Tamina. No one really cares what goes on with either of them. Match is fine. Natalya and Liv Morgan are the majority of the match. Sadly, Chelsea Green doesn't get much of the spotlight. Triple threat match. Green is introduced. Natalya and Green work together to take out Tamina early. Morgan goes after Green, and Natalya gets rolled up in a near fall. And then Natalya goes for a discus clothesline. Morgan counters it into a DDT. Natalya slows things down with rest holds. Morgan fights out with a clothesline for near fall. Natalya attempts a sharpshooter. Morgan pushed that away. Morgan hits a facebuster on Natalya for near fall. Tamina tries to jump in, doesn't get where she wants to get. Morgan hits the facebuster again for the win. Morgan joins the women team with Bianca Belair and Ruby Riott. Morgan and Riott makes sense. Anyway, Kyla Braxton interviews Drew McIntyre in the back. She points out that he has a huge match on Monday with Randy Orton. Why would he take this match now? McIntyre says he's feeling good and promised to defeat Jey Uso in his own backyard. In the back, the Street Profits approach Big E. They apologize for trying to make fun of him and make fun of the New Day last week. They had a bunch of food, and it's shaped like the letter I. They mocked New Day and said they'd lose. Big E calls Street Profits New Day light. He's not wrong. And a cheap knockoff, also not wrong. They all laughed. Street Profits stopped laughing when Big E walked off. Big surprise there. McIntyre and Jey Uso do have an unsanctioned, decent match here. And next week, it is announced during all this that Rollins and Murphy will go one-on-one. Corey Graves says the match is unsanctioned. Officials can't do anything to stop it. Match starts with Uso going for a headlock and shoulder tackle by McIntyre. McIntyre uses his power, beats him down, uses a suplex and a back elbow. Uso fights back, sends McIntyre to the floor. Uso tries a dive, but McIntyre cuts him off. Uso hits a low blow. McIntyre follows up with a super kick. Weird to see a guy that size do a super kick back from the break. Uso is in control for what seems like the first time in the match. McIntyre fights back. Uso recovers and hits a Samoan drop for near fall. Uso sets up for the splash. McIntyre hits a clothesline, goes nuts, hits a series of suplexes, and basically manhandles Uso for the next few minutes. He attempts a future shock DDT. Uso rolls him up for a near fall. Good counter there. McIntyre hits a glass cow kiss and a spine buster for a near fall of his own. Uso hits McIntyre with a super kick, climbs the top turnbuckle. McIntyre cuts him off. McIntyre attempts a superplex, but Uso fights out of that. McIntyre is hanging upside down in the turnbuckle, manages to suplex Uso from that position. McIntyre sets up the Claymore. Uso rolls out of the ring. McIntyre goes after him. Roman Reigns' music hits, makes his way to ringside. McIntyre is disgusted by this. Uso takes advantage and pushes him into the ring post. Uso stood next to Reigns and promised to beat McIntyre one way or the other. Reigns stopped Uso. He told him he doesn't care if he wins. He wants McIntyre to pay. Uso jumps back in the ring, punished McIntyre. McIntyre fights back, hits the Claymore kick out of nowhere for the win. Post-match, McIntyre jumps out of the ring. McIntyre and Reigns have a stare down. Reigns walks off. I assume we're going with that for Mania or something, maybe the Rumble. Anyway, overall, SmackDown, yet again, a disappointing show. We'll be back with more of actual wrestling, the Superstars of Wrestling series from 91, in just a little bit.